live?
Yep.
We're live. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Monday Night Monster Jam. I'm your host, Mr. Rourke. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Fantasy Island. Welcome back, and it's Awesome Monday. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Apologies again for missing last Monday, but we had some scheduling issues. Sam, my lovely, awesome guy here that's doing some killer work on the side, keeping the show running smoothly for you guys. He was off at Comic-Con doing some awesome work there for Sideshow Collectibles, the company we both work for. So, you know, we had to postpone it a little bit, but it's all good. Here we are, Monday. We're back live. Hopefully we'll keep these going. We'll try to keep these going every Monday as usual. And few things to start off with. I'm going to show you my new toy. Look at this killer piece of lovely wood. Yeah, that makes me happy. I actually got this at the Pal Peralta skate shop in Santa Barbara. So, oh yeah, baby. Some Dogtown 57 urethanes. Some independent black trucks. Oh, baby. Can't wait to skate this bad boy in the pools. I don't know if you guys are skaters like me. Grew up a skater my whole life. Still skateboarding at 47. And love it. So, pretty killer, right? Rad. Speaking of urethane, we are going to be casting urethane tonight, but much harder urethane than this. So we're going to talk about all that tonight. I'm going to put this away. Just wanted to share my new toy. Also, there's a new little piece of art on my arm. It's got wrapping on it, of course, and leaking all over the place and whatnot. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this. I'm working on a whole new sleeve for my arm. So, and they're all taken from masks that I've sculpted and created. This one was the Nightcrawler vampire. And I had this awesome piece of work done by Dave James at Dark Heritage Tattoo down in Anaheim, California. Dave James. Look him up. Follow him on Instagram. He is a rockin' tattoo artist. Amazing, mind-blowing work. The guy is a master tattoo artist. And so he put this mask of mine on my arm in an incredible way, I must say. Pretty stoked. Can't wait to see it all healed up. And then we're going to be popping another one here very soon. My Pumpkin Witch. And on the back of my arm, my Bloody Mary mask and a few others to sleeve this arm out. Yes. So, that'll be cool. My parents don't like it, but too bad. They're used to my tattoos by now.
They don't live here.
No, they don't live here. No. You know, parents aren't going to like tattoos. Unless you're a tattoo with parents, then you like tattoos. It's all good, though. It's just on my skin. Whatever. Got to live life. All right. So, where are we at tonight? So, let's talk about what's going on tonight's show. Tonight, we are doing resin casting. Last week, we did latex mask casting. Or not last week, 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting that we skipped.
I'm right there.
Yeah. So, 2 weeks ago, Monday, we did latex casting, as you remember. And the outcome of that is this nice, thick, rubbery mask that we got here. Look at that. So as you recall, those of you guys that were watching that are back with us, or those that missed it, you can go back and watch that show later. We showed you how to cast latex and how to avoid getting a ton of air bubbles and little pinhole air bubbles everywhere. And my process of how I do that, and all the tips and tricks that I've developed. Some I developed, some, just from trial and error, and some I've learned from other friends in the business, special effects business, mask making business. Throughout the years, a culmination of sharing with artists and them sharing with me and back and forth, but just mainly trial and error on my own part. I've come up with what I call a pretty foolproof technique to get really solid castings without tons of air bubbles and problems. Because I don't know if you're like me, but I hate patching a bunch of air bubbles. If I can avoid it, I'll do everything I can to avoid it. Sometimes it's unavoidable. You'll get some. But this casting, as you can see, turned out super, super pristine. I mean, I'm really not finding... I mean, now, there's some positive warts that are in the mold, but those you can clip off or even burn away. So those aren't a big deal. What I don't like is tiny pinholes that don't belong there. You know, sometimes you get them in an eyelid. But, I mean, look at how nice this casting turned out. I mean, and this is typical of what I get out of every time I cast a piece. I showed you guys the wetting technique and how to brush it in and all the stuff that I showed you. You know, you have to go back and look at that. But this casting turned out beautiful. And this is what you'll get in my upcoming class, October 22nd. You will get this mask just like this, one of these. So, and you'll get a set of 10 paints, 10 color paint set, and you'll learn how to paint this bad boy. And you'll get all the teeth, and we will paint the whole mask, start to finish, put the teeth in, seal it up, gloss the eyes, voila. So if you want to learn how to paint one of these masks, here at my studio, go to my website, caseylovemonsters.com, go to in-person classes, click on sign up, and by the way, there's already like 4 or 5 people signed up, so seats are going quick. There's only 10 seats. I only do 10 students at a time. Let me rephrase that. I only have 10 students at a time in my classes, and if you want to paint one of these for this October for Halloween and have a kick-ass mask to wear or just have on display and scare people with, come take the class. All right? There you go. Enough about that. There we go. There, you're going to go away. Check this out. Will Smith. No, I'm just kidding. All right. One more time? One more time. Will Smith. No. All right. No. All right. I love Will Smith. I'm just messing around. All right. So, okay. So now that we got that out of the way.
You know what else we're doing today?
What?
A giveaway.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna go into that. Yeah, you're leading me right into that. So talk about the giveaway. I started painting these busts here, these little kind of magnet pieces, and they're not finished. But hey, cut me a little slack. Busy man. So here's the demon one, here's the werewolfy one, and here's the 2 witches so far. Now these are not done. Is this okay for you right here? Okay. So they're not done by any means, but it gives you an idea of what you will receive if you're one of the lucky 10 winners. Each one will be signed on the back by me and numbered. And then we'll put them, I don't know, we'll put magnets on them or something. If you can put them on your refrigerator or whatever you want. Anyway, so each of the 10 people will get a set of 4 magnets. Yeah, so now, how do you get that? Well, here, if you're at the show right now, you're going to want to, what are we going to do? Chime in?
We're actually, so we have another assistant here tonight.
Yes, we do.
Diana.
Diana's here with us.
Yeah,
welcome, Diana.
She is feverishly writing down everybody's names right now that's in the chat. She's going to put your name through a randomizer, and we'll select one and let you know if you've won. And we're going to be doing that 10 times tonight.
Yeah, which means we won't do artist share. We're going to skip that tonight because we're going to
use all that time.
Use that time for the giveaway. So we'll take everyone's name down, put it through a randomizer, and we'll select the name.
What should they do after they've won? Can they email you and let you know?
Yeah, what we'll do in the chat is put my email contact, so they'll take that down. And if you are announced as one of the lucky 10 winners, you will email me. Only if you're a winner. Don't try and email me you're not a winner. We're going to write the name down. But if you're a winner, email me, and then we'll get your info from you, and then we'll ship out your winning bus set as soon as possible. Please be patient with us. I'm very busy, but that's no excuse. We'll get it done. So Yeah, let's do it that way. That
Yeah.
sounds good to me. That kicks ass.
I think too, for extra insurance, we could probably have people send like a photo of them next to their YouTube, like, "Hey, this is actually me" or something like that. 'Cause
Yeah, or just as long as we got their name, we got their email, they got their email, they can email me, and we can go from there. So that's how we'll run this tonight. In the future, we'll try to run it
a little more clean.
little smoother, figure something else out. But anyway, that's what we got to work with tonight. So bear with us. And be around on the show at 7 p.m. because that's when we will start. 7 p.m., right? That's when we will start 7 p.m. West Coast time, which is what, 8, 9, 10 East Coast?
10.
10 East Coast time. So make sure you're with us live in the chat so that you can get picked as one of the lucky winners. Okay, there we go. Now, let's just move right into what we're doing tonight. So, last time I showed you latex casting. Tonight, I'm going to show you resin casting. And we're going to cast it out of a small silicone mold that has a jacket. So, this white material here is a silicone brush-up mold that I made of one of my werewolf busts, and from my last class, and the vampire. I have both molds ready to go, pretty much. Now I'm going to run through the process of casting resin. Now this will work if you have a block mold such as this, that's sliced open, It'll work with any silicone mold that you have. So if you have a silicone mold and you have a part or sculpture part or whatever, or full sculpture that you're casting, this is the process I use to cast with. And we'll discuss as much as possible. The resin that I will be using tonight is a very fast kicking resin. The cool thing about this process tonight is you'll actually get to see the casting come out of the mold. Whereas because latex is such a slow drying process, we had to wait all this time for you guys to see the final product. But this kicks off in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I can have it out of the mold and show you the casting. So that's a good thing with this one. And this is a Smooth Cast 320 by Smooth On. Or if you live in the Southern California area or other parts of the country, you can find a Reynolds Advanced Materials dealer. Reynolds carries resin. Of course, you can use other resins. There's many great resins on the market. This is just one that I use. I really like this stuff because it's pretty much foolproof. Hasn't caused me a bunch of problems like leaching or weird things like that, and it kicks every time the way I need it to work. So this is a great foolproof resin. The only downside to this resin is in hot seasons like summer, it kicks even faster, and it's already a fast kicking resin. You've got like, let's see here, 3-minute pot life, maybe. I would say it's more like 2.5 minutes to work with this stuff, truly. That means that's the time you have to get it into your mold and get it doing what you need it to do. So you don't have a lot of time to mess around. It's kind of like mix for 30 good seconds, 60 seconds max, and pour and go. So now, that's the resin I use. This silicone here, in case you're wondering, this brush-up silicone, which is what this is, was called, it was also by Reynolds and Smooth On. It was called Stroke. It's a white silicone, and it's made for brushing up right out of the you just mix it and you brush it on and you capture all your detail. Of course, the first layer I blow through with a air hose to make sure I've caught all the details correctly, but then you let it set for 40 minutes and then you do the next layer, 40 minutes, do the next layer, so on and so forth. And then you could do as many layers as you want. You can make the mold super thick or whatever or super thin. You only really need 4 or 5 good layers of this stuff to get a good mold. I probably did 6, 7 layers to get this mold, but it's great because you don't have to mix anything into the silicone. You just mix it really well, and then you brush it on, and you've got 40 minutes of working time, and then that's it. You walk away. The silicone stays put pretty much mostly where it needs to go. It'll droop a little, but you can always come back 20 minutes later and push it back up. It's just great because you don't need to mix anything into it to thicken it. You can mix Cabosil into it to thicken it further if you really want it to stay put, but it's great as is. Okay, and I've used this many times. It lasts a long time, which is the other good thing. It doesn't just rip and tear into pieces after a couple castings. I've casted already out of these molds, 20 copies of this thing or whatever. So, okay, so that's talking about the materials. By the way, the jacket material that I've used here, which is just a real simple brush on material as well, is just a resin that's filled. It kind of looks like mashed potatoes. It's what is this called? I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Shoot, what is this stuff called again? Hang on. Oh, this is Plasti Paste. It's a material by Smooth On as well. It's called Plasti Paste. You just need to make a simple two-piece shell. You can clay up over the silicone, do one side at a time, and get it apart. Use some Vaseline to separate your two halves or whatever. Also, I'd recommend when you do this Plasti Paste that you Vaseline the silicone first, then do your wall. Vaseline one side, do your Plasti Paste, take your clay wall off, Vaseline the silicone again, do your Plasti Paste, and that way your shell will come right off the silicone. And also, it's a good idea to every once in a while Vaseline the silicone, not the inside. Don't Vaseline in here, on the outside here. I'll show you. So if we take this mold apart, you Vaseline this area here, and then what happens is it makes the shell go right on super easy. It goes right back where it should and lines up, and everything lines up. You can do keys. I didn't do keys. They're such small pieces, it's not necessary. And I did the silicone very thick, as you'll see here. I made the silicone really thick and durable. I mean, the mold will just hold up on its own, really, almost. I just have it there as extra, jacket. So, yeah, it's nice and tight. Boom. Now, one thing I do like to do is I like to tape this just to help. I'm going to pull on this tape like this, give it a lot of pressure. What that's going to do is make sure that these seams, because I have these seams cut for the werewolf ears here, you'll see when it comes out, there's these cuts, these nice cuts that go down and help me get the piece out of the mold. And what I like to do is just use some tape to give it that pressure. Now a lot of times guys will do screws or something, but I just didn't want to mess with screws and tightening them down every time. So this is much faster and easier. Just tape it, and simple, easy to do, and packing tape is always available. Easy enough. So let's do this one too. Whoops, I didn't quite do a long enough piece of tape. And by the way, if you have a mold that, let's say, is one of these, like, let me grab something here, like one of these molds here. You have a block of silicone or something that doesn't need a jacket. You can tape these molds too. A lot of people use rubber bands. I used to be a big fan of rubber bands, but rubber bands stretch out and wear out over time, and it doesn't hold the mold perfectly together. So believe it or not, if you just tape around the mold really well and keep it kind of, light, tight, not super tight. You don't have to do what you saw me do here, but just keep it nice and, fairly tight so it holds the mold well. It's not going to open up. That does a better job of keeping your mold together properly than rubber bands do. So just so you know. No, you don't reuse the tape if you're going to ask me that. You just cut it off, throw it away, and do more tape. So yes, it'll cost money getting tape, but so be it. It's a better way. At first I thought it was weird, but then I was like, oh no, this works so much better. Okay. So I'm going to move him out of the way. And And I'm going to move these guys out of the way a little bit because I don't want to be mixing resin and it splashes. Sometimes you'll splash a little bit. And that's that. Now, there's, oh yeah, you can. So there's another step to this process that's very, very important. And I'm going to try to talk to you about that right now. And I don't want to confuse you guys, so I'll try to slow down here my talking a little bit and take this a little slower. Now, there's a magic sauce to this whole resin casting thing, and it always blows my mind how many people don't know about this trick. Resin, in a way, is the same problem, has the same issue that latex has. It has lots of air bubbles in it. I'm going to show you a couple tricks on how to keep the air bubbles down in the resin, but there's always going to be air bubbles in there, no matter what. And as it heats up, the resin likes to, more air bubbles like to form as it heats up and starts to kick off. Now, this is baby powder, and it's non-talc. So there's no talc in here, which is super bad for your lungs and to breathe it. But still, it's not good to breathe. It's powder. It floats in the air. You can breathe it in and ingest it. So you don't want to do that. So do this outside. Now, we're not going to do this on camera right now for you because I already did it. And I did it outside, and I blew out the molds with a hose. I use a compressor and a hose to blow out the molds. If you don't have that, you can simply use a artist brush like this with some soft bristles. Oh, you can see there's baby powder in there. And you can brush all the baby powder, you don't need a lot too, just put a little baby powder in your mold, brush it through all the details, and go outside and bang it out and blow it out. But again, much better to have an air compressor so you can aim the mold away from your face and blow the powder away from you, wear a dust mask, something like that. Use protection. Always use protection. So this is just baby powder from the store, non-talc, like I said, because we don't want talc. That's really harmful for your lungs. And and what I did is I baby powdered the molds, and then I blew out all the excess baby powder. So what that leaves us with, and I know you can't see this, especially this being a white mold. If this were a blue silicone, you would see a little chalkiness in there, but it leaves a very thin layer of baby powder in all the details. What does that do? Well, when we pour resin in to the mold, it kind of absorbs and sucks it into the detail, if you will, sort of, not really what it does, but it basically pops all the little tiny pinhole air bubbles that you would normally get on the surface. So if we didn't baby powder these molds and we poured resin in, we're going to get a bunch of pinhole air bubbles everywhere. So what the baby powder does is it cuts the friction, and it pops, kind of absorbs the resin into it, and it pops all those air bubbles and gives us a much cleaner casting than we would normally get. Now, there's a whole nother process that you could do to cut out air bubbles, which is pressure casting. We're not going to do that tonight. I'm going to show you how to do it if you are on a budget and you don't have a pressure caster and you need clean castings. And pressure casters cost money. They're not too expensive, but you got to have a compressor. You got to have a pot that you can lock down, and you need a whole bunch of materials. Now, pressure casting is the ultimate best result, obviously, because if you put your mold in with you fill this up with resin, you fill it up, you put it in your pressure pot, you close your pressure pot, and you turn the air up to like 40 psi. You put it under 40 pounds of pressure, that forces all the air bubbles out of the liquid resin. So when you have that system, it works really well. Now, don't get confused. That does not work for silicone. Don't think, I can do that for silicone and get all the air bubbles out of silicone. No, you cannot. Silicone is a different animal. Silicone needs to be vacuumed, and you need a vacuum pot to suck the air out of the chamber. It's a totally different process. You suck the air out, and that takes all the air out of silicone, which is a thick material. That's degassing silicone is what they call that. That removes all the air, and then you have a nice silicone mold without air bubbles. But this process works for liquid thin materials like resin, watery thin, and the pressure inside, where you put pressure into the pot, forces air bubbles to pop. So, two different things. And I don't want to confuse you guys, but we're not going to get into any of those tonight. We're going to show you on a budget how to get good clean castings with resin, okay? Whew, that was a lot. Hopefully you guys are still sticking with us.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you as much as I can share, because then you guys maybe pick up some tips. And a lot of you may already know all this stuff, and you're like, oh my God, just cast it already. I already know. Sorry, we got to go through it. Okay, I'm trying to cover as much as I can. So we've got our mold baby powdered. We're good to go. I've casted so many of these, I basically know how much resin it takes by eye. And what we're going to do now is, the next step is our molds are ready to go. And I'm going to use a little bucket here just to kind of cradle this. Bingo, simple. You could use something like this. Just make sure it's not going to tip on you or whatever. But that'll hold the mold. I got 2 cups here. Got some latex glove. Well, no, these are nitrile gloves, I guess. Yeah, nitrile gloves. Black. Makes me look like I'm ready to break in somewhere.
Little beanie.
Yeah, get my beanie. I'm ready to go. Where's the bank at? Let's get some coins. All right. So, tongue depressor. Say ah. No, don't say ah. All right, so don't stick that in your mouth and then stick it in the resin. So here's a trick for you, or here's something to know. Moisture is resin's worst enemy. Okay, so when you're using resin, don't leave this open in the air, especially if you live in a humid place like Florida or somewhere where a lot of humidity is. Don't leave this open. After you pour your resin, close it back up tight. Okay, because if moisture gets in here, even a drop of water, it's shot. It's ruined. It will froth up and never cure. You talk about air bubble problems, you'll have air bubble problems, and you'll waste $120 worth of resin, which sucks. Yeah. So moisture is resin's worst enemy. Okay. So just a little tip there for you. So we have 2 sides here. We have an A and a B. Okay. Now A is always going to be thinner. The viscosity is always thinner, like water. B is going to be like thick milk. It's always going to be your thicker side. Okay, so we got 2 sides. So what we're going to do is, we got our clean cups. Always use clean cups for mixing resin. Don't reuse over and over again. That's a big mistake. I'll talk more about that. Always use a clean cup. So we're going to take our A, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pour from the side here. Now why am I going to pour from the side? Because if I just pour over top, right, what am I going to do? I'm going to introduce more air and air bubbles, and then have more air bubbles in the resin. As this is right now, we only have like 5 air bubbles floating in there. So we try to reduce as much as possible. That looks about as right on as we need it to be. So I'll go with that. So that's side A. Okay, it's an amber color. Now when this resin kicks, it's going to be an off-white. Now this is side B. Now the next thing I do is, again, I pour kind of from the side here. And try to get these to be close. Now we're less on this side. Now what we're going to do is, by eyeball, by volume, they call it, we're going to match these 2 up, okay? So A and B need to be the same, level. So the best thing to do is have a level table, and then you can get down low and visually get to the level of the resin and look straight ahead and see if they line up. Now I poured too much in, so I'm going to pour some back into here. And as I do that, I'll keep checking until I'm level. Okay, we're still too much. Too much of side B. So I will keep checking. Still too much. Let's see if we can get... All right, bingo. Now we're level. Okay, now another thing to have on hand. Let me grab some paper towel. Another thing you're going to want to have on hand is some paper towel right nearby, because you can mop up any spillover, which will happen. It's inevitable. And you can wipe off your popsicle stick. This you'll be able to use over and over again if you want. Just wipe it off, clean it off. So now we have side B, side A, same level of volume, roughly in there, you know. Just got to eyeball it, make sure they're pretty much dead on. And now the next step is literally to mix the two together. Now, when I mix resin together, I always pour side B into side A. I don't pour the thinner into the thicker. The reason is the thicker stuff is going to stick more to the walls and cling on because it's a thicker viscosity. So it's actually, you'll get a more uneven mix by putting the thinner into the thicker. So it's better to pour the thicker stuff into the thinner and then mix it. You'll get a better mix, okay? And you don't have much time to mess with this stuff, so you kind of got to move, go, go, go. All right, so now when I pour, to reduce air bubble issues, because we're always trying to do that, you know, keep the air bubbles out, I'm going to pour by tilting again, and I'm going to pour B into A as carefully and quickly as possible, but don't drop it or make a mess. Don't get this stuff on you. And by the way, you can wear safety goggles. It's a good idea because it can splash up if you're not careful. Now, I've been mixing this stuff for so many years now, I know what not to do, so be careful. But what you're going to notice is I'm going to do that, but then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape the inside of this cup as much as possible to get everything out of it into this cup, okay? Then I'm going to mix. Okay, here we go. Don't get nervous. Nah, no such thing. Okay, so here's our mold, here's our resin. Let's mix and go. Here we go. So we're going to pour B into A, like so. Okay, now I'm going to take this stir stick and run it, the edge of it around while tilting the cup, and basically just get out of this, you know, scrape the bottom, scrape the sides, get it all out of there as much as you can. Now, you know, you're not going to get every single drop. That's okay. You don't need to get every single drop. Okay, and then we start mixing. Now, what I do as a protection is I put a piece of paper towel, tongue twister there, up like this. Now, what I'm going to do with my stir stick is I'm going to scrape the sides and I'm going to scrape the bottom back and forth. Now, when you do this back and forth, this is where you got to be careful because you can splash up on yourself really easily. So go gently. And what I'm doing is using the stir stick to scrape the bottom of the cup. And we're going to mix as quickly and carefully as we can for a good 30 seconds, 60 seconds max, you know, just until we know this is nicely mixed together. All right, we're good. Now I'm going to carefully wipe this off, and I'm going to pour into my mold very carefully. Now, what I want to do is I know that the chin has some undercut, so I'm going to rotate the mold this way, smack it. I'm going to keep filling up. And I got ears that have some issues, so we're going to try to work this around like so. Try to get any air bubbles that could form in there out of there as much as possible. Then we're going to keep filling, stop for a sec. And the resin in the cup is getting very hot already. That's how fast this stuff is going to want to kick on us. It'll get real hot. So now I'm going to carefully put that there. And I'm going to fill up. And let's see how close I got on my estimate. I thought I might be a little bit too much resin, and I was, but that's bingo. That's okay. It's better to have a little more than not enough. Okay? Now, there's air bubbles up here, which is fine, but there's none down in there. Now, watch this. What's going to happen... Ooh. That's what you don't want. I'm going to hold this. It's going to kick on us. Here we go.
Whoa, holy
boom.
That's, wow.
Yeah, fast.
I'm so glad I was on that shot. Caught that.
Yeah. Well, we'll do one more. We'll do this again. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about safety. Obviously, this is a chemical. And obviously, it's letting off fumes that we don't see. So, it is best to have ventilation when you're doing this. Don't stay in the garage. Now, we're in a garage. We got to do this. We could open that window, by the way. It's not going to smell a bunch of fumes. But to show you guys, I got to show you guys. So, we got to film it. And this is, one time isn't going to kill anybody. But don't do this in your garage over and over again and expect your health or things not to be, like this is not going to harm you. There are fumes. This is a chemical. There are fumes you don't see. Don't sit here and sniff it that are rising off this. So use caution. Use a respirator, whatever you want. Do it outside even. Leave the mold outside. I'm going to stick this guy over here, just a little bit away from me. Yeah, I know, this cup idea isn't the best. Funny enough, back when I was casting all these for class, it wasn't doing this. But now it wants to be a pain in my you-know-what. So now this resin is kicked in the cup. This B side is done. We're going to trash. Goes away. Gone. We have 2 new cups. I'm going to do it one more time for you guys. We're going to cast the bat now. This is a bat creature. Okay. Just so you guys we can go through the process one more time here. This one should hold a little bit better. So we're gonna go back to our A side again. And then I have little molds for the teeth, but I'm not gonna go over that tonight. That's about right, I guess. Okay, we're a little bit shy here. Let's get a little more in there. This actually might be too much resin. This guy takes a little bit less than the werewolf, so let's try to take away a little bit here. I don't want to waste too much resin. That's another thing. You know, it's good to have a little extra resin, but you don't want to waste too much resin. And I'll tell you another secret is having a little extra resin is also good because you never mix the resin 100% all the way. And there can be some unmixed resin at the bottom, and if you pour that into your mold, a lot of castings, you'll see a swirling effect when it cures up here on the backside. You'll see like a swirl. That's unmixed resin, and usually it's stuck in the bottom of the cup. So that's why it's always good to have a little extra. I know it's wasteful, it's expensive, you don't want to do that, but just a little bit extra is a good idea. It's better to do that than pour in unmixed resin that might accidentally be at the bottom that you just didn't scrape. Let's see where we're at here. I think a little less of this guy, and we should be on the money. Okay, a little less of this guy now. That looks pretty good. Okay. So we don't have any drips. There There we go, there we go. Got our popsicle tongue depressor. You can buy these at Michael's craft stores or wherever. You can get a bag of them. They all have different sizes, bigger ones. You can even use mixing wood sticks from Home Depot. Make sure that your wood sticks also don't have moisture in the wood. Like sometimes you can get wood sticks, if you live in a moist area, then don't get them at like a Home Depot where they're out in the open. Get them in a bag sealed from Michael's or something like that. Believe it or not, there can be moisture in that wood, and you mix your resin and then it frosts on you. I've actually had it happen. It might sound crazy to you, but I've had it happen. If you have a plastic or a rubber mixing stick, that's great too. Use that. So, okay, so now we have a vampire bat creature head here, and we're going to go ahead and run through this process one more time just to give you an extra look at it, because it does kick quickly. So we pour B into A, kind of slightly tilt it just to cut down on air bubbles, mixing in. We get less air bubbles that way. If you don't believe me, try to just pour it straight in and you'll see what I mean. You'll have a whole bunch of extra air bubbles in there. And that's what we want to keep out of our castings. So anything we can do to cut down on that is pretty much helpful. Now, if you've got a mold that's totally sealed and you can rotocast it by flipping it in your hand and do like a hand rotocast, all your air bubbles you don't have to worry about. They're going to go travel to the center and pop. Because when you rotocast, it automatically makes all the air bubbles go to the center of the casting, so you don't get any air bubbles on the outside, which is great. But these are open back pour molds, one-piece molds, so you know we can rotocast it if we put a piece of cardboard on top and tape it down really well, but yeah, you'll get some leaking and stuff sometimes, kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, so I'm scraping the bottom again. I'll try to move my hand out of the way so you can see I'm scraping, just making sure I get this resin mixed really well. Scrape the sides. Try not to introduce too much air. You know, you can stir just in one spot like this. This is a really good way to do it. Really, without whipping up the resin. You don't want to whip it up, introduce air into it. And, you know, there we go. It's starting to heat up already. So, we're going to pour in. And same deal, pour a little bit in. Okay. And I want to kind of tap it around, make sure it's getting in everywhere. Okay, and this guy's a little easier. He has less problem areas than the werewolf does. It's mainly his ears. So, see, when I did that, I could see some air bubbles come up out of there. I'm going to have to pour a little higher than the ears, though. You got to go a little higher than the ears so you can really get the air bubbles out of there. You'll see a big bubble pop up at the top. That's air that was trapped in the ear. Okay, and then what's also happening is by doing that, it's causing all the air bubbles to go to the center there, which is where we want them. Getting thick quick, it's going to kick on us. So now I'm going to hold this, and it should kick off any second now. Now, one bad thing about resin that kicks this fast, and my garage is pretty warm right now, especially we got the lights on and cameras and everything going. I kind of poured this a little too high, by the way, but you can always sand this down with a belt sander. But one thing I'll tell you about this resin being this fast, the bad thing about it, is obviously a resin that kicks slower will give you more working time and you can get the air bubbles out. But you can imagine that if we were working with this resin, trying to quickly get it into a pressure pot, get it under pressure, by the time we do that, if the resin starts to kick, you're not getting, the pressure isn't going to do anything. It's not going to pop any air bubbles. The resin has to be in liquid, its most liquid form. Sorry, I'm stuttering there. Has to be in its most liquid form, you know, before it even starts to kick for the pressure to work. So you need a resin with working time. So you would want to jump up to the next resin that they have, like instead of 320, that's not going to give you enough working time most likely, unless it's a cool day or your shop's 70 degrees or something like that. It's kept nice and cool. You could get it in quick enough if it's a small mold. If it's a big mold, because the more resin you have, the more heat, you're going to have a hard time getting that under pressure. So you'd want to work with a resin that gives you just a little more working time. Unfortunately, that's going to cut down on how fast you can get your part out of your mold, because the longer the pot life, and the pot life is how long you have working time before it kicks. If you go up to a 7-minute pot life or something like that, where then you're going to be pulling your part like an hour later versus like 15 minutes later, or maybe a half hour to 40 minutes later, you would be able to pull the piece. So it will cut down on your production time. So just something to keep in mind, but then it'll allow you to get it into the pressure pot without stressing and freaking out, and get it under pressure and get the best casting and not waste material. So keep that in mind. All right. There we go. 2 castings. Done. And we can almost pretty much pull this one out like any time now, which we'll do soon. Yeah.
That quick drawing?
Yeah. Kicks like that. Chemicals, man. What can I say? Science. Yeah, so, and I believe we're like right at 7 o'clock, aren't we? I'm gonna grossly mop up my dripping blood from this tattoo. Yay! My tattoo's been leaking. That sounds so gross. If you get a tattoo, you'll know what I'm talking about. And they put this new crazy material, plastic over it that you leave on for like 7 days. Back when I used to get tattoos, it was like you take it off the same night. They tape plastic wrap around your arm. You go home and wash it off with soap and shower, and then start putting ointment on it. This stuff you just leave on for 7 days and then take it off, and then you just put lotion and you're good to go. Crazy. And the tattoo gun the guy used was no cord. It was cordless. Super silent. It was crazy. It was a whole different thing. Whole different than 15 years ago when I got my last tattoo done or whatever it was. I don't know how long ago.
You're just hooked up to a bunch of different crap.
Yeah, and this was like no noise. Pretty killer. So, okay, so let's pull out this werewolf and see what we got. So that is the beauty of resin casting, is you can get stuff in and out of a mold very quickly. Whereas latex, you're going to wait a day or so, a few days. I think I waited 2 to 3 days so that the mask was really really dry, and pulled it out, And then it still has to dry further for a whole nother day out of the mold, because the outside, which is the detail side, is still a little fresh. All right, so now, since this has got a little jacket, we can pull the jacket apart. Now, this is great stuff if you don't want to get into, let's say you live in a suburban area, you don't want a lot of chemicals and fumes, and you don't want to work with fiberglass, because fiberglass can be extremely fumy and stinky, and you got to wear a respirator. This is a resin-based material that's got kind of mixed with some ground up, I guess, fiberglass or something in it. I don't recall what's exactly in it, but it's like when you mix it together, it looks like mashed potatoes, and you just spatulate it on with a stick like this and build it up. And then to smooth it, you just take alcohol on your glove, pure alcohol, and just smooth it out. And you get it like that, and you can keep building it up or whatever you want. You can tap it, drill it, sand it. So it's really cool. And you could do keys, but like I said, this piece has enough, ears and things that I was able to not have to do that. Okay. So there we go. There's our 2 jacket shells, and then I'm going to carefully open this up. I have these nice cut points here where you just pop the ear right out. Just pops right out of there, and then this side pops right out of there. So now we've got that released like that, right? So always work your don't just yank things out, by the way. You want your silicone mold to last as long as possible, so be gentle and carefully, slowly work the piece out. So we're going to pop these points here because this is his chin where he's got this hair, and you can see we've got very thin seam line, just basically comes right off and disappears. So if you do everything correctly, you can get these. Now we did get an air bubble in the back of the ear here, which is pretty common. I could have, before the resin kicked, I could have taken a brush and got that air bubble out of there. But as is, I can just pop that air bubble and put some putty real quick and fix that piece. No problem. So, but it could have been avoided. I just totally forgot to do that. All right, so now I'm going to actually flip the mold this way, and I'm going to start pushing and pulling the mold. And this is a great thing about a brush up mold, is you can kind of flex the piece out. Boom, and that, you know, gets it right out of there. And now we've got a nice hot, out of the oven baked werewolf. And you'll notice there aren't a bunch of pinholes all over the surface. Now, had I casted this without the baby powder, there would be pinholes everywhere, especially in this fur. It'd be everywhere. And to clean up all those pinholes in the fur, you could forget it. It'd take you hours. It'd just be insane. And if you're selling pieces like this to a customer, the last thing they want is to get something that they can't paint right away, you know? That sucks. If I get a resin kit from someone, there's air bubbles everywhere, I'm pissed, you know? It's like, I'm not going to sit there and clean. Chances of you ever painting that piece is probably slim to none, because you're not going to sit there for hours and days fixing every stupid little pinhole. It's a nightmare. So you want to make sure you're giving your customer a nice clean casting to work with. And I try to do that with my art. So, and of course there's some dentures that we cast separate and put in. I'm not going to get into those tonight, but we just don't have time. But there's how you cast a resin piece. Now, if this were a full bust, let's say, you know, and I had a different mold, say a mold like this that we were talking about, you know, but it would be bigger. I think I can show you guys something. Here's a beast of a mold. This is too big, and this mold was made the wrong way back when. This is a lot of... I don't recommend making big molds this big. This is huge. This is ridiculous. Yeah, let's put this away. I'm not even going to show this stupid thing. But you get the idea. You can make cardboard pieces like this that fit on the opening of the mold, right? And you can quickly pour your resin in and have pieces of tape ready to tape this down really well. And then you can rotocast. Let me grab a mold. Let's just pretend that this is our mold or whatever here. It's all taped up, and you've taped over the hole with a piece of, you know, this has got clear tape on it. You've put this on and you've poured your resin in. You can flip it around like this and keep flipping the mold, you know, until the resin kicks. And what that'll do is it'll rotocast and capture all the detail and get rid of all the air bubbles. It pushes all the air bubbles to the center and they pop. And then it'll give you a nice thick casting, you know, or a thin casting, whatever you need. I like to do them thick. I like to fill the mold at least halfway to 3/4 and then rotocast, because then you get a nice thick rotocast. I mean, if you go too thin, you're going to have like an eggshell casting, and customers hate that too because it feels like they're getting a cheap product from you. You want it to have some weight. So, but that's the way you can rotocast, which is good. If you have to do some pieces by hand. It also saves on resin costs a little bit, you know. You're cutting down on your resin. So now I'm going to put this back together. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that this seats back where it goes. You want to always put your mold right away. Put your mold back together. And so we're having a little bit of issue because this is dry. So like I was showing, let me see. Let me grab, is there Vaseline right there? Yeah, we have that. So, like I was talking about earlier, this is a good trick. You take and you Vaseline lightly your piece like this, okay? Because like right now, I was already having trouble putting it back together. So if you do a little of this, and this is also before, when you make your shell, let's say this is your brush up silicone and your sculpture's under there, and you have a clay wall like this, and you're gonna brush up this material to make your shell, you'll Vaseline this. After you get your clay wall on, you'll Vaseline this side, and then you'll brush this material on. That just helps it release. But now, when I go to put this together, okay, because of that Vaseline, it's going to snap. It's going to snap right in. And also, this area where your seam is really good to Vaseline as well, because that causes those to go right back together. Okay, this is a good trick to know. You know, wherever your cut line is, put a little Vaseline there, and then that'll easily go back together. Let's put this side first, because this has a little key that pops in, sort of piece there. Now this mold should go right back together. Boom. Now our mold is nice. It's all sitting in the right spot. Bingo, done. Okay. And I got Vaseline on my hand. I'll wipe that off. Let's open this vampire up so we can show you that really quickly. Same deal. I'm going to carefully get the ears out. And
so Casey, if you were like dead focused on getting, say, 20 pairs of these done in a single day,
yeah,
how long do you think that would take you?
Well, we did it in a day. My wife and I, because she knows how to do this, I showed her how to cast. So we actually did cast for my class, because you know the time it took to get the production of this done and everything. It kind of went, that's what I didn't want to do. Oh well, it went down to the wire. That was funny. I normally don't scream. Okay, so and we had to do that. She actually helped me cast just before my class, the day or so before, and we banged out 20. No, how many did we bang out? 10. Yeah, 20, because we did 10 and 10, and all the teeth, and we were both standing here just going one after another. Now, one thing about that, it's actually if you're going to cast resin, one thing I'll tell you to make your molds last longer, anytime you cast in a cold mold like this, like how we just did, and I'm just doing one, it always puts more wear and tear on the mold than if you just, like if I was to do a bunch more of these tonight, it would be better for the mold to just do 5. Because if you just do one cold one and pull it, you're putting more wear and tear in the mold, but when the mold gets nice and warm and reused, you can get a lot more castings out that way. So it's better to, like, if you're going to cast out your molds, you might as well just spend some time and cast like at least 5-6 copies or something, rather than just one copy and then let the mold cool back down. That always seems to put more wear and tear in the mold. And use mold release. Spray a little mold release especially in the areas like the ears and areas that are hard to get out, and that'll put life on your mold as well. Okay, so bingo. Here's the vampire, which we didn't really show, but it flew out of the mold. That was cool. You got to see it fly out, right? So this is the vampire and the werewolf. So there you go. 2 nice resin castings ready to go to a customer. This one we kind of overfilled, so I will take it to a belt sander and sand it flat. That's okay. And that's how you cast resin for resin kits or your own art in resin or whatever you need out of resin. Okay, and you can even do bigger molds. I've got some large molds, mask size molds, that I rotocast. They're up there. we can pull down this guy here and show everyone. And this is a big old hunkin' mold with a lot of cobwebs in it, but it's made out of the same silicone, and this is that same material. And I dyed the silicone so I could see the layers. I mean, you can dye the silicone with oil paints. If you want to see your layers, you can mix in a little oil paint into the silicone when you mix it up, and it'll change the color so you could see, because it's white. And then if you're putting white layers on white layers, sometimes you can't see how thick the silicone is getting. So you can put a little color in it, like blue or black or something, and you could do each layer a different color so you can kind of see, oh, I can kind of tell how thick I've gone. Anyway, this gets rotocast. It gets baby powdered and rotocast. And I do it with a translucent resin. And voila, you can do nice big molds like this too. So there you go. I'm going to put this ugly mold away. Oh, get back up there. Okay, I think we better move on. So that's how you cast resin. We'll try to hit some questions on it in just a few. If anyone has questions for me on that process. But we're going to move right into giveaway.
Woo!
Yeah.
It's been forever.
I know. It's been a long time coming.
Did we start talking about it? Episode 3 or something? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be super early.
Yeah.
Wow.
A while ago. So let's talk about the giveaway. Let's do the giveaway. Okay. So for you guys that have joined us tonight, you're the lucky ones. Anyone that didn't join us is going to be unlucky. Sorry. They'll have to get into the next giveaway. So it's going to be these 4 busts. I'm going to make 10 sets of them, all painted, signed. You know the drill by now. I've said it enough. Let's get into it. And so what are we doing here?
So Diana has been keeping track of everybody that's in the chat right now, and all you have to do is tap to spin, and one person will be selected.
I just did it.
Oh, sweet.
I tapped to spin.
Now you're going to read off the name. Actually, you can even show the camera too who won.
Biff Superman? We have a Biff Superman in here?
All right, so if you are Biff Superman, go ahead and sound off in the chat to let us know that you're still with us. And again, guys, if you want to be a part of the giveaway, make sure to sound off when your name is called, and we'll write that down and make sure you get
also,
your prize. Yeah.
I think they have to be here and sound off, right?
Yep.
Because if they don't, we got to move on to picking someone else. So let's give them 30 seconds or so to sound off. Biff Superman. Oh, where did we go? I lost this.
Oh.
I lost it closed off. So Biff Superman, are you with us? Sound off and let us know.
Here, while Biff is getting around to answering, we do have some questions from folks here in the chat.
Okay, we'll answer questions in between. Biff Superman, come on, hit us up, man. You just won. You're the first lucky winner. You gotta let us know. Super rad name, by the way. Biff Superman. I love that. Yeah, I know. Biff Superman.
Oh,
Biff Superman.
he just asked a question.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Our bad.
Biff is here.
Biff's
Sweet.
here. Rad.
All right. Congratulations, Biff. So, Biff,
Congrats.
you just won a set of these masks right here.
Well, little resin busts.
Oh, yeah, the little resin, but sorry.
But, whatever. And these aren't fully painted yet, by the way. They'll be fully painted. But he just won the first set, which is actually this set right here. So
Casey, which email should he email to let us know that he just won?
let's put the email in the chat. The email to the best way to do this, because I can then keep track of it, the easiest way is through my email. So Casey at Caseylove Studio. Don't put loves plural. Don't do that. Put Casey at Caseylove Studio, and we'll type it in the chat. We should type it in there. So CASEY at CASEY Studio STUDIO.com. Casey at CaseyloveStudio.com. So
Check this really quick. Make sure I got that all spelled right.
let me-
Casey.
oh, I gotta put my glasses. I don't think it matters. It's a capital, right? No. Yeah, perfect. Casey, that's it. So put that in the chat. We're gonna put it in the chat for you, Biff, and everyone else that wins tonight. Just make sure you have my email. If you lose it or something, just go to my website and email me through my website. It'll go right to me. But that is the best way to contact me. Just make sure you give me your proper shipping address, please. If you are out of the country and you win, make sure I have your phone number. I can't ship to you if I don't have your phone number. If you're in the U.S., I don't need your phone number. So email me your address, and I'll be able to ship your bus to you.
And let us know what your YouTube name is, too. Because if we just get a random email from, like, Jed Zuckerman, and it's like, hey, I won, it's like, cool, who were you in the chat?
Oh, yeah. Make sure that you let me know what your YouTube name is and your real name. I need all your info.
YouTube name,
real name,
address,
and or phone number. In fact, just put your phone number just in case.
Yeah.
You might get a phone call from me late at night.
All that to Casey at caseylovestudio.com.
Yes.
Congratulations again, Biff.
Congrats, man. You're the first winner. I say we pick another winner.
Yeah.
Let's go for number 2. Keep your fingers crossed, guys. You might be a lucky one here.
There's the roulette.
Okay, so I hit it. Here's the roulette wheel. Let's hit it again. Let's see who we get. Jennifer Ladd.
All right,
Jennifer Ladd. Sound off in the chat, Jennifer. You just won a set of busts. Oh, Jennifer Ladd. You just won. You're number 2. Lucky number 2. If you're with us, sound off. Let us know because you won a set of busts.
Oh, there she is.
Jennifer, there you
There she
are.
is.
Awesome. So, Jennifer, you'll email me, Casey at caseylovestudio.com. Give me your name, your YouTube name, address, phone number, and we'll get you your set of busts. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
I'll go
So,
ahead and pin that message with your email. For people to see.
yeah. And do we write down these names so I can go back and okay.
Yeah,
Jennifer
I'm
Ladd.
writing them down right now.
So you got Jennifer then?
Yep,
Jennifer
Jennifer
Ladd.
Ladd.
Okay.
Oh, she's spinning again. Oh my god.
We're gonna.
Oh.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
If you need more time, we're good. So Jennifer, congrats. Congrats. You're lucky number 2 winner. Here we go. We're gonna spin again, guys. Boom. There it goes. Let's see who pops up. Matt Cable. Awesome. Matt, if you're in the chat, sound off, buddy. You just want a set of busts.
How long should we give her the sound off? It's about like,
Like
what,
30 seconds.
30
Oh my god, I clicked the thing again on accident. We'll do it in a sec. Sorry. Matt Cable, sound off, buddy. Let's give him at least 30 seconds to get to us.
Yeah,
or
there's like a
something.
30-second delay on the stream.
Oh, it picked the same person.
Did it?
Yeah,
Oh, here.
I'm going to get rid of that. So Matt Cable, sound off, buddy. You want a set of busts. Hopefully you're on here with us.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Congrats, Matt.
Congrats, buddy.
So one more time, what should Matt do?
Matt, email me, Casey at caseylovestudio.com. We put it in there. Make sure you've got my email. If you guys don't have my email or you forget, just go to my website, caseylovemonsters.com, and email me through there. But email me your real name. That might be your real name, I believe. But email me your real name, your YouTube name, whatever, your address, proper shipping address, and telephone number just in case. And we will get you your busts. Keep in mind, guys, I got to make all these busts still and paint them. So give me a little bit of time, but they will come to you. Promise.
Biff, Jennifer,
Biff,
and Matt. These
Jennifer,
these are what you want.
and Matt so far. There are 3 lucky winners so far. And then we're going to go ahead
I
and...
think I accidentally spun it.
Oh.
Oh, you mean spin again? Oh, okay.
That's all right. We'll go with it. We'll go with it. Oh, Eric Mortensen.
Oh, I recognize that name.
Eric Mortensen, you just won a set of busts, buddy. Woo!
There it is.
Oh, it went away.
That's
All right,
okay.
Eric Mortensen, you just won. So, Eric, email me, Casey at caseylovestudio.com, and give me all your correct info, shipping address, telephone number, your real name, if that's a YouTube name, which I don't think it is, but give us all that info, and we'll ship you a set of busts. Oh, I just clicked it again. It's like, to click the screen to go from going away, then you have to click. Yeah, that's all right. All right, I got the next winner anyway. So Eric Mortensen was the last winner. Congrats, Eric.
Eric is right there. Boom.
Oh crap! I clicked it away. Why did I do that? I'm gonna find it. I know who it is. Yeah, I see him here. I accidentally clicked the name away, but the next winner is Scott Stevens. Scott Stevens.
A lot of just regular names. Awesome.
Yeah. Scott Stevens, you're a lucky winner, man.
This is who, number 5?
Number 5.
Do you want to go through all 10, or do you want to do
Let's go through all 10, man. Let's go through all 10. Scott Stevens, sound off, buddy. Scott Stevens.
I'm a little biased. There's a few people in here that I'm hoping do end up getting called.
Oh man, this thing, I just tried to refresh or get the thing and it clicked the guy, but luckily I know the winner. Sorry guys. I know the winner again. Scott Stevens. Okay. So Scott Stevens, we got him. Did he chime in?
Oh, yep, there he is.
Awesome.
Stevens.
Scott, congrats. You're a winner, buddy. The next winner, which I just accidentally tried to refresh it and it clicked him away, which I'm laughing because I know this guy. Daedalus number 1, which is my friend Joseph Ariadis. So Daedalus, Joseph, you won, buddy. Chime in.
Where you at?
Where you at, dude? You won a set of busts as well. You're winner number 6. Congrats, dude. Now try not to click it away.
It's a very sensitive phone.
So is that it? Daedalus 1. Yeah, Daedalus 1. I guess that's how you say that. Where you at, Joseph?
There they are.
There he is. You won, buddy. Congrats.
Woo-hoo.
Number 6 winner. Okay, now I'm going to show it to you guys. Yeah, I promise I'm not picking names here. Here we go. Let's go again. Now we can do it on camera. Sorry, guys. But we're being fair. We're not cheating anyone.
What kind of phone is it, babe? Samsung?
Who do we got? Come on, who is it? Shiflett Brothers! What's Yay, you guys are going to have to share, okay? Because it's 2 of you. So you guys, someone can get some witches and someone can get some demons. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
Actually, it's probably Jared in there anyway. So Jared could just get it and not tell his brother, Brandon. You can get back at him. But maybe Brandon's watching. I don't know. So Shiflett Brothers, you won. Congrats, guys. You get a set of busts.
Oh, you know what you guys should do? You guys should clip this and post it on their forum.
Yeah. Look at that. It's awesome. Shiflett Brothers, what's up? So Jared or Brandon, whoever's in the chat, if you're in there, just sound off. Get me your address, and I'll get you your busts.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, there's a 30-second delay, so everybody's like just now reacting to
Yeah,
it.
yep.
I'm laughing like crazy.
Actually, you guys can wrestle over these, and we'll put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, Shiflett Brothers, if you're in the chat, sound off. Let us know.
Watch them. That'd be holy.
Well, I know Jared, so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could just, but he's got to get us his address. So.
Oh, we'll finally know where he lives.
Is he in there? Jared, you here, man? Brandon, Shiflett Brothers, what's up? You won. Hit us up.
Someone go spam their forum really quick. Like,
yeah.
Guys, you won. Get back in the stream.
Get back in Casey's stream. You won.
Jennifer says, you all have a wonderful evening. I have to go tend my dinner. Thank
Oh,
you for joining us, Jennifer.
Jennifer, thank you. Enjoy your dinner.
Come back next week. 6
Yes.
p.m. Mondays.
Yeah. So, did we get the Shifletts yet?
Not yet.
They probably stepped away.
Let's see. How many winners are we up to right now?
7?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to out the Shiflets, man, because they've been helping support this stream
They
by
really
advertising it. So,
They really have.
and I know them, so I'll get his address. So we're going to move on. So Shiflett Brothers, you're a lucky winner. You got number 7. I'll contact Jared and Brandon and let them know they got to fight over some busts. Okay, we're going to move
Stick around
on.
for the whole stream next time.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. Okay, here we go. Next winner, number 8. Here we go. 3 spots left, guys.
This is way better than the online one.
Yeah, this is fun. I kind of like this. Chris
Chris
Dawson,
Dawson!
what's
Yes!
up? You're a winner, Chris.
That was one of the names I wanted to see. Chris
Nice.
is super active in the chat all the time.
Nice, Chris. We appreciate you always being here, buddy. Sound off. Let us know. Email me your address, all your private info, and we'll get you these busts.
Social security number.
Yeah, social security number.
Last 4 digits.
Mother's maiden name, last 4 digits. Chris Dawson, you're a lucky winner, man. Hit us up in the chat.
Let's see. I think it's just. Oh, it just popped up for me on the chat. Dawson. There he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Congrats, buddy.
Nice.
Congrats, dude. Email me all your info and we'll get you your busts. So that was number 8.
Yep.
2 spots left, guys. Cross your fingers. 2 spots left. Here we go. Who's going to be number 9?
Rick Baker.
Oh, my God. That'd be hilarious. Is Rick even here? Rick's not even here. Tim Norton?
Yeah.
Tim Norton, you're a lucky
Nice.
winner. Number 9. Tim, sound off in the chat and let us know you're here.
By the way, all you winners out there, you better be subscribed to the channel.
Oh, yeah. If you're a winner and you're not subscribed, I'm disappointed.
Very disappointed.
I'm sure they are.
Of our hearts.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
Tim Norton, you're the lucky winner, number 9. Sound off, buddy. And then email me all your info.
I want some donuts now. That reminds me of Tim Hortons.
Donut. There used to be a killer donut place right down the street. I used to bring into work every now and again. But they're still there. I forget what their name. Yeah, I forget what they're called. But Tim Norton, you're number 9, lucky number 9. There they are. Cool.
Sweet. Thanks, bro.
Congrats, buddy. Email me, Casey at caseylovestudio.com. Email me all your info and we'll get you your busts.
Your real name, your YouTube name, your
Yes.
address, and your phone number.
Please, please. Thank you so much. Congrats, Tim. All right, the last one. I can't believe we're already here. Number 10. Here we go, guys.
Oh man,
Oh man, who's it gonna be?
watch me repeat.
I'm not vintage. I'm grumpy.
Yup.
I love
Hey,
that it's just not some random name.
I do want to shout this guy out. He's always here too. I'm sorry, they're always here too. They're
Awesome.
super active. They're giving a ton of great advice to people in the chats too.
Oh
Whenever
my
people are
gosh.
posting questions, they're like, oh, Casey mentioned this earlier. Or, oh, you know what? Like, Casey will probably say this. Like, that's a good idea to do. Like, very, very active. Super cool.
Super cool. I'm not vintage. I'm grumpy. Whoever you are, you're a lucky winner
They're
of
definitely here.
number 10. You got the last set of busts. So congratulations. Sound off in the chat.
Yes.
There he is.
There they are.
Thank you. Email me your info, and you've got yourself a set of busts.
Woo-hoo.
All right, guys. That is it. Sorry to all those that didn't win tonight. My apologies. But we will do another giveaway. And we'll announce it, in the next several streams or so. Keep coming to Monday night, and I'm sure you'll be a lucky winner at some point. And we'll figure it out what we're going to give away. I still got to figure that out, and we'll do this again. So to the 10 winners, please email me as soon as possible. Don't wait. Try to email me tonight or tomorrow at the latest. Casey at caseylovestudio.com. Give me all your info, correct shipping address. Please double check your zip codes and all that so I don't run into any issues. And I will get your bus shipped out to you with a tracking number as soon as I possibly can get to it. So give me a little time. It's going to take a minute or two to get it all done. But anyway, congratulations to the 10 winners. And thank you guys, all you guys, not even just the winners. Thank you all you guys that have been helping out with the channel, spreading the word, being here every night, supporting, subscribing, liking.
Being part of the community.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys are on Facebook.
Yes, we super, super appreciate that from all you guys. And apologies to those that didn't win, but hey, we'll do another giveaway, and maybe you'll be a lucky winner there. Right?
Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
There you go. All right. Awesome. Now, let's move on to questions from tonight's demonstration, and I'll try to answer as best I can all those questions that you guys have.
All right, so our first question actually comes from, Matt Cable.
Matt Cable.
This is a question that I think we answered last week. Matt was wondering, what's the goop? The one that I think George showed.
Oh my God! Yeah, sorry guys. Everyone's been asking me what the gorilla snot is. I just call it gorilla snot. The goop. Jordu, I asked Jordu. He I asked, hey, what is that stuff? Do you remember? And there was a technical name to it. I forget what that was. What the stuff is actually called. But I guess the name is just Alco gum is what they call it. Alco gum. I don't know where you get it yet. I'll find out. I'll talk to Ed Edmonds. I believe that's where Jordu got introduced to this stuff or something like that. There's a more specific name of what it's called, but it goes by Alco gum as well. I guess that's what it's called. If someone knows where to get this stuff, sound off. Let us all know. The color that I have. Let me grab it real quick.
While he's grabbing that, Ben Hernandez brings up a good point in the chat. Leave a like if you haven't already. There's a lot of you guys in there. Really appreciate that too. Where did I put that? Hopefully everybody can hear me all right. Well, probably the mic tonight. So
this is the color. It's kind of like a light amber.
Gorilla snot.
Yeah, I call it gorilla snot because look at that. It's truly. So it should be, I guess, this color unless it's made in some other tinted goop. I don't know. It's the first time I ever tried it. Oh no, it's not Alco gum. It's Classico.
Oh, tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce. No, just kidding.
Delicious.
No, it's Jordu said it was Alco gum, whatever that is. So it's some kind of elastic rubber suspension garbage, whatever. I don't know. So a lot of people were guessing or saying what they thought it was in the Facebook chat. Maybe some of that's correct. I don't know. Someone had mentioned some other stuff. Who knows? Maybe that stuff works the same way. I don't know. Maybe it is the same, but that's what he told me it was. And I want to thank Jordu for sharing this with me because this stuff is miracle stuff, by the way.
The secret sauce.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So thank you to him for being so willing to share and give me a big batch of this. This is going to last a long time. But also, if you know Ed Edmonds, Ed Edmonds is going to get all these messages in his chat, in his thing. What the hell? But he also turned, I think, or someone at Distortions, I think Jordy told me, mentioned, or showed him this stuff and turned them on. So they would know too, and they might know where to buy it. I'm sure they do know where to buy it. Unless it's somewhere in Colorado where they're getting it. But they're out of Colorado, but I'm sure there's some place to get it here as well. So anyway, and I do know it has some technical name of what it is, but I don't remember what that was. Okay.
All right, so our next question.
Don't ask me. I don't know. All right.
Our next question comes from David Felchak. David asks, do you ever use rotation casting?
Oh, yeah. We just talked about that. Yeah, hold on. Again, I got to jump off camera. Too many times. Okay, so this is a bust that you guys saw me paint on the live streams. I was doing some weathering techniques on this for you. So this is a roto-cast. You can hear it. It's hollow. So this is a kind of a thick roto-cast bust. And you can see how this is flat here. And that's because I had, if this is the mold, right, then there's this opening where I pour here, this big opening, and I had a piece of cardboard on top of the mold like that. And I had it all taped everywhere so it couldn't leak. You got to tape it down nice and hard. Be real quick with that too, by the way. You got to have all your pieces of tape stuck to the side of your table or something so you can grab them and tape it down quick, because you saw how fast this resin kicks. And this resin is the same resin you just saw kick, so you can see it's possible to rotocast. And so I closed it up. The mold was all taped already, ready to go, powdered, whole 9 yards. And then I rotocasted it, and here you go. A nice rotocasted piece. So yes, you can rotocast it. Bingo.
Our next question comes from Richard Lucius. Richard asks, would having a vibrating surface help with the air bubbles?
Yes. There are little machines that vibrate and they help agitate the mold and get the air bubbles up. They definitely can help. Banging on it though and moving around and knowing your molds. Like every time you make a mold and you do a resin casting, when you do that first casting, the first thing you're going to find out is where the air bubble problems are going to be, and then you adjust for the next castings. So every mold that you do, you learn by casting that piece, and then the more you do it, you can start to guess and know because you can always tell where air is always going to rise to the top. So obviously in these molds, I know that the back of the ears is where it's going to trap and rise the air bubbles. So that's going to be the problem area, always. So hence why I got a giant air bubble in the back of this ear. So, yeah, and every mold you do, you're going to learn where the problems are. And sometimes there'll be an area you just didn't expect, but there it is. And so you adjust for that, and then on the next casting, you can get it so that it's without the air bubble. You agitate it or put you can poke a little toothpick or a brush down in there where the air bubble's hiding if you can get to it or whatever. So, yeah.
I've actually got a quick question that just came in from Chad Smith. Chad Smith is asking, what's the name of the Facebook group?
Oh, okay. Thanks for asking, Chad. The name of the Facebook group is the same as the show, which is Monday Night Monster Jam, but on Facebook. Just click to join the group, and then it'll give me a notification. I can let you in the group. So it's that kind of thing, But Monday Night Monster Jam on Facebook. It's a great group. There's over 700 people there, I believe now, or something like that. It's growing.
762.
Yeah, I just let 6 people in today. I just had 6 people sitting. I apologize to those 6 people. I didn't see that they were waiting to be accepted. I don't check it every night, but I should probably make more time to check it. Yeah, so go to Facebook, Monday Night Monster Jam on Facebook, and join that group. Great group of people there. Amazing artists sharing work. You can share work. I encourage you to share your work. Talk about what you're doing. If you have questions, let us know. Ask the group. There's a bunch of knowledgeable people there, professionals, all the way down to beginners, amateurs, everything. And it's great, man. It's awesome to see people sharing and talking about what they're doing. I try to get on there as much as possible just so that you guys know. I try to answer, I try to comment, but it's hard.
There's a lot.
There's a lot, and I'm busy, and I apologize, so please don't think I'm ignoring you guys. Most of the time I just have to like things and move on, but I'll try my best to be active in that group since I started the damn thing. All right, so what's our next question?
Our next question comes from Matt McNeil.
Matt
asks, if you make too little resin, will it stick to itself? I.e., can you make a second batch to pour on top of one that's not ready to kick?
Yeah, you can. That was something I was going to mention, why it's also better to make a little more than a little less. Now, when you do your first mold, let's talk about this trick. Here's another trick, by the way. Let's say you just made your mold, and there's two things you can do. One, if you're clever enough to do this, you have saved the clay that came out of the mold. Why would that matter? Well, because you could take that clay and you could weigh it and see how much the clay weighs. And that's going to tell you basically how much resin you're going to need, right? And then you can divide that in half, the weight. Let's say it's 2 pounds. You can divide it in half. You're going to need a pound of A and a pound of B, 2 pounds, right, of resin. And then you can figure out what that is in ounces or whatever and mix it up. So let's say you threw your clay away like me, which I always do like an idiot because I forget to weigh it. And now I don't know how much resin goes in the mold. And I'm like, well, the clay's gone. Okay, no problem. You can seal your mold up, fill it up with water all the way, and then carefully dump that water into a cup, see how much is in the cup, and divide it in half. And then add a little bit to it. I've noticed that with water, you always have to add a little more than what you see. So just a little bit, like, give it another ounce on each side or something like that. That's another way to find out how much resin goes into the mold. But before you pour resin back into that mold that you put water in, make 100% sure that you get all that moisture and water out of that mold. Because like we were saying earlier, water is the biggest enemy to urethane resin. It will cause so many issues. So blow your mold out, dry it thoroughly, run some alcohol through it to make sure everything gets dried because alcohol will evaporate. Blow it out several times. Make sure that there's not a drop of water anywhere in that mold before you cast in it. And then baby powder it and all that again. So those are some tricks to help you figure it out so that you're not guessing and wasting resin. So that pretty much covers it. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a good question from my mental factory. How can you prevent mold growth in plastic molds?
Plastic molds or silicone molds? Silicone molds, right?
Yeah.
So these are rubber molds. A mold growth. I've never seen mold, like mildewy mold. Yeah. I've never seen that in a silicone mold, to be honest with you. I've never seen silicone. I suppose if it was left outside in the nature or something, it could. I've never had that. I don't leave my molds outside. Now I have seen it in a plaster mold, like a plaster mold like this, like for latex, can easily start to grow mold in there because the moisture and all the stuff. So what you do to clean that out is the minute you start seeing mold growth in there, it's simple. You just get some Clorox bleach in a spray bottle and spray the whole mold and scrub it down. And then
he meant plaster mold. He just corrected it.
Okay. He meant plaster mold. Sorry about that. So So that's what you do. You get Clorox bleach, get some bleach, spray it in. Do it outside. Bleach is nasty too to breathe. Spray your mold down and scrub it a little bit, and then hose it out really well, like several times. Get all that bleach out of there with water. Let the mold dry outside because wherever you leave the mold, it's going to stink up the whole room. Let it dry outside and get rid of most of that bleach smell, and then you're ready to cast again, and your mold will be fine. Yeah.
Oh, that's an question. This one comes from Andy Neal. Andy asks, do you ever keep some spare small silicone molds by you when you happen to have extra resin?
Yes, I do. I have, funny enough, I have these molds. And what are these? These are the giveaway. These are all these guys. So I have these little molds, and when I have mixed up too much resin, as long as the resin is not going to kick anytime soon, because that's the problem, I'll fill up one or two of these. I'll have these ready to go with baby powder pretty much all the time, and I have these little molds. So yeah, I mean, you can just pour any extra resin you have, but like again, you have to do it when the resin is still, you know, you can't, like, you couldn't fill one of these up and then try to go fill this up, because you saw how fast that resin kicked. You wouldn't have time, and you're going to get air bubbles. Even if you baby powder, you're going to, because the resin gets thicker as it heats up. So you got to be quick is what I'm saying. So yeah. So if you know you've mixed up too much resin and you've got some molds laying around, and, you know, definitely have a helping hand or someone helping you, or someone that can help pour in right away or whatever. But yeah, you can do that for sure. It's a good idea.
This next question, this is actually one that I was actually going to ask you after the show, but it's great somebody asked this. This one comes from Bill Miller. Bill asks, can you add any kind of color or texture fillers to that resin you're using, like metal powders, etc.?
Yeah.
I would go far as to say, like, would you add like coloring or even glitter to maybe like a translucent one or something?
Yeah, they do make translucent resins, clear resins. You can do glow powder, you can do tints, you can do whatever you want. I can even tint this resin. I mean, there's tints that they make specifically for the resin. When you're talking metal, like faux bronze, that's a different process, where actually what you have to do is use a black resin or tint the resin black and put faux bronze. You mix a whole bunch of the bronze powder into the resin, but more importantly, you spray the mold with release, and you actually powder the whole inside with, instead of baby powder, you actually powder the whole inside of the mold with the metal powder, and then carefully bang it out. You don't blow it out, obviously. You bang it out and get all the powder, but you leave a layer of powder, metal powder in there, like bronze powder, and then you mix up black resin with a bunch more of the powder in that, and then you very carefully pour into one section and put it in a pressure pot. And then when you pull that out, that powder layer will bond into your resin, and you'll have this casting that you can actually buff with, like SOS pads or whatever, like, you know, like steel pads. You can buff it and it'll shine like real bronze, but it'll be faux bronze. So you can do faux bronze, or you can do pewter, all the same way. You can do pewter casting. Then you can still put washes of paint in there, like black, into all the details and stuff. In fact, there's a pewter one up there, Sam. See that thing up above my door, that Balrog?
Oh, yeah.
That's pewter.
Yeah.
That's a pewter
I
resin.
see,
Yeah. Sorry, you guys can't see it. Anyway, yes, you can do that. You can do tints. I've done a lot of translucent resin where, let me grab a piece. Here. This is a translucent gray. It's so you can see, like, this is opaque white, but this here, the bottom here, you can see what the color of the casting was. It's like a translucent gray, and you can see that, like, let's, you know, like for instance, this is a painted opaque piece, but this is a slight translucent piece. So you can see that how it looks more like silicone or something like that. So it gives you a translucent look, and then it's painted with just washes of color and stuff. So you can get translucent flesh and different translucent. So it's a resin that's translucent, and I just tint it. So I just mixed up like a gray and then painted it, and then there you go. So you can do that too. You can do all kinds of different things with resin. You can do glow. They make glow stuff, and they make all kinds of different ones. So yeah. Anyway.
Our next question comes from Chris Dawson, one of our winners tonight. So, if any of the resin isn't mixed all the way, will it ruin the mold? How would you clean it out?
Well, I can tell you, I'll share a story with you. This is long ago, back in 2002, 2003. I used to do this show called Wonderfest in Kentucky, and it's all it is model kit guys that sell resin kits like this, like blanks, that you buy and paint. And I used to get ready for this show months in advance, or weeks in advance usually. And one time I was up really late, 1 or 2 in the morning. I'd been casting all day, getting ready for the show. I've casted hundreds of parts. I'm dead tired. I'm exhausted, right? Probably should have gone to bed, but dumb that I am and stubborn. When I was younger, I was like a machine. I could keep going. Can't do that anymore. Well, I had been going, prepping molds, going back and forth to my pressure pot, prepping molds, back and forth. And I went to mix some resin, and I grabbed part A and put it in a cup. And then I went to grab resin again, didn't pay attention, grabbed part A, put it in a cup. And I mixed the two together and mixed it and poured it in my mold and went, okay, I'll come back in 20 minutes and pull it. I come back 20 minutes later, and guess what I found? Liquid in my mold, not cured. And I looked and realized I just poured 2 of the same sides and mixed it together and then poured it in my mold. So it's not going to cure. It's 2 sides of B or 2 sides of A is never going to cure. So I was like, oh my God, So I carefully poured that stuff back into a cup on the side or whatever. And then I had to clean that mold out because it was just filled with, I think it was part B, which is worse. It's like more liquid or more thick. And it was ridiculous. So I had to sit there with acetone and clean and scrub out that mold until I got all that resin out. You could probably use alcohol, would be safer than acetone, and scrub all that crap out and re-clean that whole mold before I can move on. Now there's other things. Yeah, if you mix the 2 sides way off, like you have this much of A and then that much of B on accident, yeah, it's not going to cure right. It'll cure probably enough to pull it out, but it's not going to cure correctly. And what'll happen is it'll leach like crazy. It'll probably start leaching on the bottom here. Like just oil will keep forming and forming because it'll never cure right. So you're going to have to toss it because you can't paint that. You can't do anything with it. It'll never stop leaching. So you can be a little bit off, but make sure you're not way off. Your level should be good. And if you're not sure, you can do this by weight instead. If you have a gram scale, like a digital scale, it gives you right here 100A to 90B. So in that case, you would measure 100A, and then whatever you measure of this, let's say this is 100 grams, you would do 90 grams of B, right? 10 grams less. So then that would give you a totally proper mixing ratio. That's actually more accurate to do. But you can do this by volume, by eye. It gives you options. You can do either one. But if you want to be totally accurate about it, weigh it out.
All right. Good question.
Yeah, it is a very good question. Oh, real quick. All resins, by the way, check what this says here. Don't just assume. Make sure you read the label because a lot of them are different. It could be 100A to 80B or 85 or 82. Sometimes there's weird mixing ratios. So make sure you read up first before you go mixing. Yeah.
Our next question comes from Mad Makes. Mad Makes asks, how do you cut those jagged seams in the molds?
Well, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I suck at doing that. It is an art. It is something that takes an immense amount of practice to get it right. And let me just show you the precision surgical cutting that is going on here. Now, I didn't do this. I took these molds into my buddy at Sideshow. I got a couple mold makers there, buddies, that are genius cutters. And they did this for me. And anytime I got to cut a mold, I take it to them because they do it every day, and they they can do it for me. So I'll be honest, when I cut a mold, it sucks. This is one I slice. There's just this stupid straight line, which is not really the best thing to do. This is not going to line up really well, and you get more of a seam. Now, what I got to throw a shout out to Chadwick and Rob over at Sideshow, because these guys are masters. Oh, yeah. They cut this thing. Look at this, man. And it just disappears. I mean, when the mold goes together, but look at that. I mean, that's some crazy, and I've seen crazier cuts that they've done. It's mind-boggling how they do it. Now, what they do, and this is what they say to me, which is crazy. They take a fresh razor blade and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just wiggle it," and it's like, "Oh, you just wiggle it."
You just get perfect Z's.
Believe me, I tried this just wiggle it idea, and that's not what I got. I get some So they are. Yeah, look at that. It's like Jaws teeth, man. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, they're masters at this. I can't even begin to tell you how to do this because it is a freaking art in itself and takes a bunch of practice to get good at. But if you practice at it enough, you'll get it. And also knowing where to cut and how to cut. You got to kind of go slow. And what you need some... they make these pliers that push out instead of grab. They push out. And then you can start doing your cut. You do your first cut, obviously. I can tell you a little bit about what I know. You take your razor blade and you do your first cut just shallow. You don't go deep. And you kind of can mark a line to follow if you want. And then you open up the mold a little bit and you cut jagged again. And then you open it up and cut jagged and open it up. And eventually you'll start to see the casting, and then you can start to follow your line. So like you could on your sculpture, let's say this is your clay, you could, if you know where you're going to cut, you could draw with a marker a line, and then when you go to cut your mold open, you'll start to see the line and you can follow it correctly. That's the best trick. But like these guys did this without any line. I didn't have a line on the sculpture. They just cut it. So again, these guys are genius at this stuff. That's the best I can tell you. It just takes some practice, patience too. Go slow. Do not rush it. The more you rush, the more mistakes you're going to make. And you might cut somewhere you don't want to cut too. Yeah.
It's actually a really good question, because I always assumed for the longest time that it's just like a little tool that you put in, like as it's drying.
They do make a tool though.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they make this tool that, it's funny you say that. They make a tool that kind of does this, it kind of curves, and it's real sharp. But it's made for just pressing down the mold and making like a kind of a key. It's not as good though. It just does one. It's like a one motion thing. Right. This is better because as they've showed me, they take a fresh blade like this and they're like wiggling back and forth as they cut, and it's getting these, But you got to get you got to get it down. So the best thing to do, guys, is take a thick piece of throwaway silicone and just practice cutting. Make sure you're cutting, don't cut into yourself, by the way. You can easily do that. But just take a piece and practice the wiggle, because it's like a wiggle back and forth that you got to get. And once you get it going, it'll boop, 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 Anyway, but I suck at it.
Great question.
Great question.
I didn't know that either. Our next question comes from William Salinas. William asks, when is it necessary to use an outer shell for silicone molds? Pretty much always necessary, right?
It's necessary for like a brush up or a thinner layer. If you don't see, silicone is very expensive. So one of the nice things is you can do a thin layer of silicone. You can do a mother mold that you pour into, or you can do like this, a jacket mold. This is like a jacket mold. Mother mold is different. A mother mold is where you clay up over the sculpture and you actually put keys in it and you make a fiberglass jacket first, then you pull that apart, you take the clay off the sculpture, you put the jacket back over the sculpture, and you have a hole with release areas that you pour the rubber into, and that then forms, not only captures your sculpture, but it also forms into all those keys, and it's a certain thickness of clay that you've put in there, and that certain thickness is how thick your rubber is going to be. Now, that's obviously cheaper to do than like these big giant block molds that I showed you. this is a block mold, so this is all just solid silicone. Well, I could have just made jackets or done something to save on the silicone waste. So if you're on a budget, the smarter thing to do is to do thinner silicone, so then you need a jacket, because you need to hold, the silicone will not hold its shape on its own unless it's thick, you know, like if it's thick like this, you know, I could just put a piece of wood board on either side. This is thick enough to hold its shape correctly. But if it's thin, you know, or it's like a brush up like this, then you need something to kind of hold its shape to the way it's supposed to be held together. So that's when it'll be necessary to do a jacket mold, you know. If you don't care about silicone waste and you don't care about making thick molds that are heavy and all that, then you can just pour up a solid mold and cut out the piece, you know. Or you can make a two-piece mold by claying it up and just making a box and pouring solid halves, but you still end up with a thick mold. So yeah, I think, let me see if I have a two-piece mold I can show them, like a proper two-piece mold. Where are we at here? I don't know if I have one. I know I've got one, but it's not. I don't know if it's on hand. Let me look. I don't have one on hand here. But anyway, a two-piece mold is really the best way to do it. Not the best way to save on money, though, but it's the best way to do a mold rather than a slit mold, you know, cut up one side. Slit molds are nice because it's faster and you don't have to clay up and do all the two sides. You don't have to pour two sides, and you have one seam line, which is nice. But if you do a two-piece properly, it really is the best way. And a two-piece mold is less strain on the mold pulling it apart every time, whereas like a slit mold, see, like a slit mold, you've sliced, like I put this part in a box, right? I poured the rubber around the piece and I sliced it. Now I have to do this every time. Every time I'm going to open this mold, I'm putting stress. So eventually it's going to rip and tear one day, and the mold's going to go to shit. So the best thing is if this was a two-piece mold and I had two pieces that come apart the right way, there's way less strain on that mold. So that mold is going to last longer over time. So that's a nice thing. But you do have a seam all the way around it. But you can make that really tight and nice so that it's just barely anything if you do it properly. So, yeah.
All right, and our last question for the night comes from David Felchek. Seems like a pretty straightforward one. Is the silicone mold material the same as tin silicone?
It is tin silicone, actually. Yeah, so all these colors you see here, the white, the pink, the green, they're just different. Well, these are smooth on. This is Mold Max 30 pink. This is Mold Max Stroke, which is a brush on. This is not a brush on. This is a brush on. Same material as this, just white and brushable. This is just a regular silicone you pour into a mold, and it's Mold Max 30, which is it holds its shape very well and is also very flexible but yet sturdy, lasts a long time. And then this is just Walco silicone or Motion Picture Effects, I believe, Walco 1065 green. They make a green catalyst and they make a blue. A blue kicks a little faster, but just by a few hours. The green is a little better, I think. But anyway, you mix the silicone, you de-air it, and you pour it over your part. Now it's this silicone here, the brushable one, you don't have to de-air. You're brushing it on and you're blowing with like one of these. Let me show you guys. So you have like this from Home Depot, and it hooks right up to your compressor here, and you can blow through silicone with this. You know, you can have it on like a 20 psi, 25, you know, on a big compressor. And when you've brushed your silicone on, your first detail layer, you just blow all over the whole sculpture. Let's pretend like we're brushing silicone on this. You're going to blow to make sure that those nostrils and all the detail and the hair, you just go around and push the silicone, forcing it in and popping any air bubbles. And after you've done that first layer, then you don't need to do this again. You just do your next layers until you're done, and then your jacket. But this silicone here is not brushable. This is pourable, so you need to de-air the silicone. You notice there's no air bubbles in it. It's totally bubble free because I de-aired it and then poured it into this I poured into a cup. This one I made a little box, and then you just fill it up. Slowly fill it up until it's above your sculpture and let it cure, and then you come back and pull your sculpture out and you're done. So just so you know, there's different kinds of silicone, but these are all tin-based silicones. They're not. There's another kind of silicone which is more expensive and a little more finicky to use, which is platinum-based silicone. Now, platinum-based silicone you can use, but there's a couple issues with it. You cannot wear latex gloves. You cannot have latex touch or even really much around it. It won't cure. There's a number of things that will keep it from curing correctly. So it's a fidgety silicone. It's a more expensive silicone, but it will last a little longer than tin. The tin silicone here, on average, this mold, if you take care of it and everything, can last you up to, well, it depends on how much you cast out of it. If you cast a lot out of it, you're going to kill it quicker. But I've had molds like this last 10 years or longer. Platinum mold can last even longer. But platinum is not necessary for this kind of production. You probably just want to stick to tin. That's basically what everybody uses. Usually people use platinum when they're making silicone masks or silicone busts that for a collector, like a likeness or something of a famous actor. Then people will go to platinum because they want it to last, 30 some years or more or something like that. You want it to last a long time. Then they'll go to that, because tin, if you kick it or adjust it in any way, it'll shorten its lifespan considerably. So, but these aren't kicked; they're just mixed, poured. So these molds will last either as long as, I'm pulling stuff. Eventually, what will happen is as the mold gets used more and more, it's more likely the surface is going to get hard and dry up, and you're going to start pulling chunks, and then the mold's going to die. Yeah, and then you're going to have to make a new mold. So the good thing is, always when you pour your first copy, especially if the sculpture was clay and not savable, put that first copy aside. Don't do anything with it and save it as a master.
Right.
Because now I can just pour a new silicone on top of that and have a new mold. Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. That's it. Done.
Yeah.
Any
Actually, one more question. Stephane Paris was asking about the Pumpkinhead. Like, is that a personal project of Casey's? I feel like we talk about it a lot, right?
Yeah. How do I talk about that? Yeah, Pumpkinhead. Here we go. Here's his head, by the way, if you want to see it. This is rotocast, by the way. Real thick. So yeah, this is a sculpture I've been working on for many, many, many light years. Trying to perfect it. And it's a massive undertaking. It's got a giant base and everything. In fact, we could probably just pull it over here real quick and share it. All right, we could put this, maybe put this here. Let's see. He's a beast. Here you can do a little 3D. So this is a massive project. Personal project I've been working on for many, many years. And it's almost done. Thank God. Because it's like the epitome of my existence at this point. Yeah, it's just a personal thing I've been working on. And, yeah, I'm going to be painting them up and all that good stuff. I may at one point try to market it to a collectible company. I don't know which one.
I don't know either. I don't know why you're looking at me.
Gee, I don't know. I only work for one of the biggest. Who knows? It could come out that way. I don't know. But currently, I have just a limited number of ones that I'm doing for collectors, but that I owe it to. And so anyway, it's very private, just a personal project I'm working on. But yeah, this is him, and I did the baby too. By the way, I sculpted the baby. Now I spent a lot of time making sure this was accurate to the sculpture, the original, because I've seen a lot of inaccuracies out there done on Pumpkinhead. They make them too buff, too squat, too whatever. I've seen some statues that are done. The first Sideshow one that was done a long time ago was the best, one of the best ones. And then I tried to spend a lot of time making sure this was as accurate as possible. And then I kind of slightly amped up the detail and cleaned it up a little. But I showed this thing to the two guys that I knew who originally worked on Pumpkinhead and were behind it, which was Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff. Tom Woodruff was the guy in the suit. Alec Gillis was the guy that created the head and helped design Pumpkinhead along with Tom and a crew at Stan Winston's. And I showed it to them and wanted to get their feedback, and they said they loved it, absolutely loved it. So I'm super stoked to hear that. When they get it done, I want to show it to them again. This mold that I pulled out earlier, I showed you guys, is actually the baby. You can kind of see he's the fetus that they dig up in the movie and he takes it to the witch. Lance Hendrickson's character, he brings it to the witch to resurrect Pumpkinhead. So this will have a baby with it and wrapped up in burlap, just like the movie. So as a separate piece that goes with it. And this is the base. I mean, this is not finished, but this is the base. There's a tree branch that comes out, and there's all these weird pumpkins, rotted pumpkins, toenails. The teeth and gums and toenails and fingernails all be cast in translucent material, dental acrylic for realism. But no, once I get it done, I'll share it with everybody, the finished product, and you can see the final painted version of it. If you have any questions about it, hit me up, message me. I can answer any questions. But there he is, the mysterious Pumpkinhead everybody's been asking about. Big old tail. This thing's huge, man. I mean, it's the biggest Pumpkinhead I've ever seen done as far as a statue. I've never seen one. This one towers. The legs of this one are the size of the Sideshow one. If you guys remember the Sideshow statue. The one of these legs is the size of that whole statue.
Yeah, is it a particular scale?
This is this is like probably, I would say, huge. Like, this has got to be like 1/3. Because the head is like 7 inches. Yeah. So, I mean.
Like a third or slightly bigger than a third.
Maybe. I don't know. It's massive. Well, because Pumpkinhead is huge in the movie, though. He's like, you got to remember, he's like, he's because Tom, the actor, was like 6 feet. By the way, Tom Woodruff's head, just in case you're wondering, his head was in here. And there were slits in the neck, right? So Tom Woodruff's head would have been looking down like this, because this is leaned over. So if it was standing up, then Tom would see out of the neck like that. But anytime he was posed like this, he was raising his head this way and looking down, and then that would raise Pumpkinhead up. And this was all animatronic. This whole thing was animatronic. It would snarl, and eyes would blink and move and everything. And then Tom's arms went in here, and then his legs came down to like right here, and were in these stilts. And then sometimes they only shot him here, and his feet came out or whatever with tennis shoes. But they put him up on a box or something to make him look taller. But like anytime he was fully in the full suit, he was on stilts and wires to hold him up, and then the tail was, I think, on a wire or something. They could wiggle it around, but. Basically Tom's head came like right in here somewhere, and then his body. So and Tom's like 6 feet or something, like 6 something, and so you can imagine Pumpkinhead was probably like 8 feet tall or something crazy.
I think looking at the feet, that's like 1.5 foot added added.
Yeah.
Head added. That's another foot. Yeah, 8.
And there's a great Stan Winston video on YouTube showing Tom in the suit where his feet come out here without the full legs, and then they show him with the full legs on wires, and there's a great video of him in the unpainted suit. And here's another thing people don't know, and I talked to Alec about this. This is funny. Pumpkinhead was painted 2 different ways. I know we're gonna cut off here in a minute. Last little story. Pumpkinhead was painted 2 different ways, and Alec sent me a photograph, a color corrected photograph of Tom in a chair next to Alec, and I think Alec is talking to John Rosengrant on set. And the thing was, Alec had an idea of how he wanted to paint the head, and then the rest of the guys had an idea how they wanted to paint the body. And the funny thing about it is the original paint job, even though you don't see it on screen, is like 2 different paint jobs. Because Alec wanted to put certain colors in the head. He thought one thing, and then they thought, no, it should be purples and darks, and they had different ideas. So they actually, the head and the body are painted almost 2 different ways. I mean, they're similar enough that it works together, but there's a photo I have where you can clearly see the head is painted one way and the body another way. And a lot of people don't know that. And on film, you don't see it. It doesn't come across as a major difference. But on this one picture I have, you can clearly see all these like oranges and burnt tones, warm tones in the head, and then and all the purples and weird stuff. And then in the body, it's all these grays and like weird colors and purples, and yeah, it's just like they're 2 different worlds in a way, slightly in a way, but it works. And that's funny that there's like they just had 2 different ideas, and they just painted 2 different, the suit one way and the head another way. So yeah, kind of funny. But anyway, that's all I can talk about on this, I guess. All right. So hey guys, that's it for tonight. We're way past our time, or a little bit past. Yeah, way past our time. We got to end this thing. Thank you so much. Congratulations to our 10 winners that won the bus tonight. We appreciate it. Please email me at caseylovestudio.com. Give me all your info, please, so I can get them shipped out to you. We'll hit you back with a tracking when they ship. And I appreciate everybody coming tonight for the stream. It's good to be back on. Thank you to Sam, Diana, coming and helping out with us with this whole thing. And we'll be back on next Monday as usual with something different. We're going to switch back to sculpting or painting or something. We'll let you know. And please like and subscribe. Please join the Facebook group if you haven't. And that's about it, I think, right?
Yep.
I think we're good. Yep. So we're out. Thank you, guys. Have a great Monday night. We'll see you soon.
All right, later.
Later.